The way that New York plays defense, and with the absence of Maxey and others, as we documented during the pregame show, there was a chance that points would be hard to come by, but never did any of us expect the basketball game that just went final. I don't know how they got it done, but the Sixers came away with the win and snapped their 3-game losing streak and one of the ugliest wins of the seasons. That said, they pick up win number 35, and with some help from other basketball teams in the East.
We're in no position to complain about any wins right now, and especially not tonight. Oh,
now
my
in
God.
6th place in the Eastern Conference standings. Welcome to the post-game show here alongside Kyle Neubeck. I'm Devon Givens. Brianna is producing. Derek has the night off. All of you in the chat, you saw it. We all saw it. They saw it. Watching it from the bench and in the stands, that was an ugly one, 79-73. The Sixers, man. Kyle, that was ugly.
Well, by the way, I want to give a shout out to our guy Ish in the chat, who he was in the seating doesn't matter camp pregame. First comment tonight, seating does matter. That's what I'm talking about, Ish.
Hey, early.
Already changing our tune. I love it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and put lipstick on a pig. That was a disgusting basketball setting back offensive performance from both teams. Was just horrid to watch at times. But I have sat here on this show, called in from the arena, written many times over. This is a team that just cannot win with defense. They're not equipped to get stops without Joel Embiid, the personnel, the effort, whatever it is on a given night. And for 48 minutes, those guys locked the fuck in. They full credit to basically everybody on the roster. I will save my complaints about this game for later on because I'm going to stick with the good vibes for now. But the level of engagement that they showed on defense, rebounding, obviously the Knicks were going to hurt you somewhat with offensive rebounds, but that happens. I think the attention to detail was great. I think, Devon, as you brought up before the game, Nick Nurse had called this team out for coming out soft in Friday's game. I think you saw absolutely none of that. I think these guys responded to the challenge to the point that we had a little brouhaha in the fourth quarter between Oubre and DiVincenzo and Hartenstein and Paul Reed, and guys are mixing it up and fighting and pushing and grabbing and smacking people in the face. Like
they smacked them hard.
That was, it reminds me of a lot of Heat Knicks 90s games where they're just absolute bloodbath wars. Now, not quite as violent as those games, much lower stakes than those games. But as we said coming into the game, you had to get this game by any means necessary. You have to start building somewhat of an identity as a group. I still don't know if they've done that, but to go out there and get a win in a way that I've basically given up on saying they can get one this way, I think that was a character performance from this team. And it's a great example of like a lot of guys. For example, Kelly Oubre, you look at the box score and you see 6 for 19, and it's like, oh, brother, what the hell was he doing out there tonight? But that you would completely miss the importance of his volume, the importance of him attacking the rim, going to the glass, getting 5 offensive rebounds in that game, some of them off of his own misses, and just not paying any attention to, hey, look, I missed the last 3 shots, or I got this shot blocked.
Or the 2 free throws that he missed.
He just ignored it, and he kept playing. Kyle Lowry, 3 for 8. Didn't really have anything going. He was a team worst minus 14 in that game. And he hits the biggest 3 of the game in the fourth quarter with Tobias Harris off to the side doing precisely nothing for most of the game. You had Hubie Brown's favorite basketball player on earth, Paul Reed. Hooping out there. Buddy Hield responds to the challenge from Nick Nurse. He gets moved to the bench in favor of guys that, frankly, I don't think should be starting over him, and has his best game in quite a while. Super efficient, rebounds the ball, has a few assists, even picked up a steal. Like, you have to get some wins like this over the course of the long season. I think this is the first one of the year, they said on the broadcast right at the end of the game, without both Joel and Tyrese available. Yep. And like, I think those guys can feel plenty proud after that one. Certainly not of the offense, but I would bet you Nick Nurse let some excited F-bombs and other assorted curse words fly in excitement after that game in the locker room. That was awesome.
And there were a few plays towards the end where the Sixers were still leading, but the Knicks did some good things, and the Sixers were having turnovers there. And Kyle said afterwards, immediately after one of the bad plays, Nick Nurse cannot feel good right now with about 2 minutes to play.
They're up by 4, I think, at the time. And I was like, Brunson just hit a 3. The Garden is rocking right now.
Buddy Hield is already out of the game because of the banging of the knees. And you're like, oh, man, they're about to do this. I looked at Bree when we were sitting there, all three of us, and I said, this game has been so ugly the entirety of the game, but they were leading for a majority of it from the second quarter on, and it only felt right that they were going to lose the basketball game. Rock fight, ugly, gritty, all these things that we want to throw out there. It just simply said this team was going to lose the basketball game. Pre-game, we both said double-digit loss for this team against the New York Knicks. They had their time off, just like the Sixers are off.
One.
This is our second Sunday game where we were both wrong. Derek off, by the way.
Maybe on Sunday. Yeah, I was going to say, the common denominator is Sunday, Derek's not here, and we picked them to lose. So maybe we need to just keep doing that and stick with the mojo there.
And they make us look silly by doing so, but Kyle's right. This basketball team scored 79 points this evening, and they won against a gritty, tough Atlantic Division opponent that had every reason to knock them off for the seeding purposes that Ish was talking about during our pregame. But instead, while they still have the series lead at 2-1, this is the fourth and final game on Tuesday on their home floor again, the Sixers just gut punched them a little bit. And with the possibility of Maxey coming back in that game too, that gives the Sixers, as you said, every reason to feel good about what they just did, and something to build off of for this next game on Tuesday. But that being said, everything that they did tonight, they had to find a way to defend. They had to find a way, even though they did not rebound the ball well. We normally combine defense and rebounding together with this basketball team. But even though they defended well, they did not rebound the basketball all that well, especially in some really key stretches there where they needed to secure the defensive board. The Knicks missed their shots, but a part of that was because their defensive effort was so good this evening, and that's why when Kyle opens up and says we often criticize them about their poor defense, this is why, because it's in them.
Yes.
It's in every NBA player to do so. It's just a matter of you going out there and executing and fighting and doing what you need to give that effort to defend on every given possession. Now, you may not defend as hard on every possession, but to go out there and do it. And they got minutes out of a lot of people. They went 9 deep here tonight. They had to get a spell of 4 minutes from Kenyon Martin Jr. coming off the bench, 26 plus from Hield, Reed, and Batum to walk away with this win. And from your starters, outside of Mo Bamba, 30 plus. So when we talk about gutting out a win against a better basketball team right now, that's exactly what they did. Now, we're not going to come in here with the pom-poms and waving him and all that stuff. They needed to snap this 3-game losing streak. Yeah. As someone said, we'll get to the super chat. If not for the Dallas win, we do have a super chat.
Play the song.
Play the song.
If we weren't going to get DMCA'd for playing the song in the background,
if it wasn't for that Dallas win, it might be a 6-game losing streak. But that's what it is. But they needed this one right here. They also got some help from a few other teams, Orlando losing, Miami losing, Washington beat Orlando. So they needed this one. Now,
Washington beat Miami.
Washington beat Miami. I apologize. They needed this one, and now they just have to build off of that to pick up any win that they can get here going forward with now 18 games left. Contributions from everywhere, from Oubre, Reed, big shots from Campaign with a runner that he had, a tough layup over Jericho Sims at one point.
Another example of Campaign was 3 for 13 and still managed to hit some big shots throughout that game.
Lead the team in assists, but you needed a big play from everybody at some point. Campaign had the tough layup. Kyle Lowry with the big 3. Kelly Oubre rebounding as well. Tobias Harris with the final rebound. We'll get to some of the negative stuff there later on, but everyone made plays tonight, and this team worked hard for this victory. Definitely needed this one against the Knicks.
It looked like, granted, there were a ton of offensive rebounding opportunities on the table, right? When you shoot 31 for 80.
Oh, man.
There are a lot of times you can get second chance points, but 2 offensive rebounds from Tobias, 5, as we said, from Oubre, 2 from Buddy Hield, 3 for Paul Reed. KJ Martin played less than 4 minutes and had 2 offensive rebounds.
And a bucket.
These guys were going hard to the glass. And it became very clear when it was 15-15 at the end of the first quarter, this was a game that was going to be won along the margins with the effort plays, with the extra hustle, the beating somebody to a loose ball, pursuing the glass, like crashing hard, missing a runner or a mid-range jumper and seeing, okay, there's still a lane for me. I got to go and get it myself. And to their credit, there have been times this year, certainly without Joel and without Tyrese, that they haven't been able to sustain that level of play, of effort, of frankly, just concentration has been a big issue for these guys. And look, a lot of these guys in the lineup right now, that's the MO. And that's part of the reason that they're available for cheaper than maybe their talent says they are. And so you give credit to guys for, I don't know whether it was Nick Nurse. I don't know if they had a meeting or just conversations amongst themselves. I don't know if it's just a pure, like, prideful athlete type thing, but they came in with a new mentality. I do want to shout out Kelly Oubre for another reason. I thought his defense was excellent tonight, and it showed up in a lot of ways, right? Like, so start of the game, he's given the top assignment, and he's got to defend Jalen Brunson. And we had talked about that matchup prior to the game. I kind of figured Oubre would get that because, frankly, he's the best of a series of either bad or subpar options there. And he gave Brunson trouble. Like, Brunson never really got going in this game. He finishes 6 of 22. Now, I certainly wouldn't say that's all Oubre, but he got that started. And as we've seen many times with the Sixers, but also around the league, if you can take a guy out of his rhythm early in a game, there's a real domino effect for the rest of the game. And Brunson, without Julius Randle, is the entire offensive engine of that team, right? Like, he has to go get it, or he's got to create for guys, or these guys aren't going to score. Like, they can't get their own shots. And that's like, Dante DiVincenzo has been a great three-point shooter for most of this year, since January 1st onward at this point. But he's a catch-and-shoot guy or an attack closeouts guy. So turning the water off on Brunson to open the game, and then Oubre shifts around the floor throughout the game, right? Like, he got into some passing lanes. I think he ended up with like 3 steals, if I remember correctly. 3 steals, had a few assists on top of that. So on the other end of the floor, we always are nitpicking, like, hey, how's his decision-making? Is he looking for his teammates? Is he just firing up every shot he can take? And look, there's some hero ball from Kelly tonight, but I think that was genuinely inspired play from him on both ends of the floor. It's one of those that someone who missed the game and looks at the box score is going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But that's the Kelly Oubre that people want to see. That's the guy that we were talking earlier about developing habits for the playoffs and like, how do you translate what you're doing now to the team that has Joel Embiid, that has Tyrese Maxey? Well, that defense that Kelly Oubre played, that translates to any team. You can play with anybody playing that way. And while he's not going to have the shot volume that he had tonight, the fearless mentality that he's got going to the rim, trying to dunk on people, drawing fouls, like gets 9 free throws, and that helps offset the tough shooting night. That's a guy who can potentially swing a game or two in the playoffs. So I was super impressed with him tonight. He's obviously been in a good groove lately. The last game, I think, notwithstanding. And they're not getting that win without him tonight because Tobias, who's supposed to be the big volume guy, had nothing going on offense.
When you win a game in the 70s in the 2024 calendar year, you need every bit of everything from whoever you have out there. And Kelly Oubre with the 18 points to lead the team in scoring, also getting 10 rebounds there, the steals, the assists, the defensive play that Kyle was talking about on Jalen Brunson to start. Good team effort by everybody also, because you had Buddy Hield at times. That was his assignment. Kyle Lowry, the same thing, his assignment. Campaign just running around with him and making sure that Another part that I thought all of them did collectively really well was not leave their feet on any of the ball fakes that Jalen Brunson is very, very well known for. They didn't fall for any of that stuff. So when you do that, when you score 79 points in an NBA game and win, you have to get that. And someone was the leader in that part of things, and that was Kelly Oubre. Again, we'll talk about some of the things that bothered us a little bit later. They would have been in the forefront had they lost this game. Now they go to the back part of the show because of how they won.
Nobody wants to hear negativity after
you don't want to hear that
gritty-ass win like that.
No, not at all. But when we talked about it on Friday, I don't remember if it was when you were doing your call-in from the arena or also before you came on or just after you came on. I was saying to Derek at one point that I put it in my notes that Kelly Oubre clearly knows that he's the best player on the Sixers team when Tyrese Maxey is not on the floor during the stretch.
He at least carries himself like
bingo. And look, he was scoring a little bit against the Pelicans, of course, as we know. The same thing on Wednesday against the Memphis Grizzlies. But he's carrying himself that way, and you can see it by how he's attacking the basket, how he's getting his shots up and on the offensive end. You could see that he is wearing that and wearing that proudly for him, that's the case. And Tobias Harris is not up for the challenge, as you said, supposed to be that guy. We're not knocking him yet. We'll get to that later. This is where you see, again, Kelly Oubre being the best of what they had available to them this evening against this New York team. Buddy Hield good, Paul Reed very good, but Kelly Oubre was clearly the best of what they had in the uniform tonight in order to help get them this win. And once again, he knew it. He carried himself as such. That's why a few other things happened where, again, I'm holding off from saying those things, but that is the case. And we'll talk about a few more good things with this win over the Knicks this afternoon as the Sixers get a 79-73 win.
It felt like it was a 37-33
28 now record on the season. They are 2-1 in their 3 games. 1-2 in their 3 games against the Knicks, an opportunity to tie them on Tuesday, second night of this 2-game series at Madison Square Garden.
Well, listen, guys, I know it can be easy to lose your cool, get worked up over day-to-day annoyances, and certainly the big stuff, right? Like you watch your favorite basketball team play, and it's 15-15 after the first quarter, after a long week, coming home, hoping to enjoy that. But there's a better way. There's a chiller way to relax, watch a game, relax after a stressful game. When you walk out to your kitchen, open up the fridge, grab an ice-cold Coors Light out of there, because with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice-cold beer. When the mountains turn blue on the bottles and cans, as I think you can still see some blue on these wonderful cans out here, they hit that perfect temperature. I'm looking forward to it. I think we have a 70-plus degree day coming up this week, Devon. Yeah. I love being like a nice day on the deck, day on somebody's patio, at the beach, come out of the water, sitting out in the sun for a long time. And when you pull that Coors Light out of the cooler, out of the fridge, or frankly, if you're at a bar and it comes to you there, those mountains are blue, so you know you're getting an ice cold beer, and it's always nice on a hot day. Coors Light is also cold layered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smooth finish. It is mountain cold refreshment. So, as I always say, even when the people from Denver and Colorado outside of Golden don't like me and are in my Twitter mentions, I can still choose chill with a crisp and refreshing light beer. Because when you choose to rise above it all, you should choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And you talked about being on the beach and making sure you pop that Coors Light as you relax.
I'm looking forward to some beach days this summer,
well,
man.
Our teammates have a beach trip coming up here. They will be working, but there might be an opportunity for them to catch the beach. And that is courtesy of our good friends from Philly Sports Trips. We're off to Clearwater with Philly Sports Trips for our very first PHLY spring training takeover with the gang, Jamie, Renee, and Tyler, the PHLY Phillies team. They're headed to Clearwater, and they'll also be hanging, and you could too, with Phillies legend Charlie Manuel. Philly Sports Trips plan the whole experience out from flights and hotels to game tickets and transportation. Vince takes care of all of that. Yes, not our Vince Pellegrini, although he does have a hand in this. Vince from PHLY. Of course, We're talking about Vince from Philly Sports Trips, who does a fantastic job. I've done some trips with them in the past, and it is first rate. So you will want to make sure that you do that. It's not too late. You want to spend St. Patrick's Day on a private yacht? Well, why not do that with a catered dinner and drinks? Be on the lookout for more events throughout the year with Philly Sports Trips. The Super Bowl party was fantastic from the group. They took care of business there with that in Las Vegas during that trip. Unfortunately, Philadelphia was not there to represent for another opportunity to win a championship, maybe next season. And if they do that, maybe Philly Sports Trips will have you taken care of for all of that. So our trip, PHLY Phillies, March 13th through the 18th. That'd be Wednesday, carrying on through the 18th. So don't wait to book. Get in there now. Jump on that right now. There's still time. Head to allphly.com/events to learn more and book your trip.
So do we want to get into Tobias now?
Well, first, let me say this, because we did have one from Ish saying, Devon, you can also see it from the coach. Nurse keeps allowing Oubre to have the ball in his hands the majority of the time and driving to the basket, getting foul shots as well. So Nurse also sees that. Get the ball to Kelly. Well, you also give credit to Kyle Lowry from setting things up that way where he's doing things, the dribble handoffs, making sure that he may get the switch on defense to get that lesser defender maybe on Kelly Oubre to give him the opportunity to do just that, Ish, what you're talking about. Maybe some downhill drives there to get to the basket, get to the painted area, try to get some of those little push shots there or drive to the basket and dunk like we saw. One made, one missed. But the aggressiveness.
Who's leading the NBA in missed dunks
him.
this year? Is it him?
Well, in traffic, too.
Is that
in traffic?
Do they track that
I
anywhere?
don't know. But in traffic, you understand why. You got some trees there. He's trying to finish that flush over. And he missed one, made one in transition, which was a great. I was like, pass the ball. Buddy Hield is a couple of steps ahead of you. Bounce past it so he can catch and lay it up in stride. He goes to the basket, makes me look stupid, and dunks over two Knicks defenders. And then the other, he tried to dunk over Jericho Sims. You have to go hard to the basket against him. He missed it. I don't mind it because it's not easy to do, but that's the aggression-ish that you're talking about. And that's why he believes he's the best player out there on the floor. Now, let's get to the guy that's supposed to be.
Two things real quick.
Yes.
One, I will push back a little bit and say I mostly agree with what you're saying. I do think some of it is Kelly is just like, it's less about Nick and more Kelly is going to attack.
I'm the best player on the floor.
Regardless.
Yes.
Like it's not
yes.
Oh yeah, Nick Nurse is trying to facilitate this. It's just Kelly Oubre doesn't give a shit who's in front of him. He thinks he's gonna attack.
Yes.
Basically anyone.
Yes, he does.
Also, shout out to Cillian Murphy, just won Best Actor at the Oscars for Oppenheimer. So
that's a good movie.
Good job by him.
Very long movie.
They won both lead actor and supporting actor for Robert
Did you
Downey
expect
Jr.
that to be the case?
I haven't seen enough of the movies from this Oscar year to be like, oh, he deserved it over so and so. But I loved Oppenheimer, so put it that way.
Okay.
I just saw that scroll across the
no problem
timeline as we're here.
So yeah, great movie.
You want to. Speaking of bombs, you want to talk about Tobias Harris?
So he didn't win. He didn't win Best Supporting Actor, did he, tonight, like Robert Downey Jr.?
I will. So let me start by saying
that goes to Paul Reed. That goes to Paul Reed.
Let me start by saying this. I do think if you're looking specifically at all the things we're talking about, the rebounding, the defense, the extra plays on that end of the floor, I think Tobias is a big part of that, right? Like if he's on that end of the floor doing the headless chicken act or is blowing switches, not communicating, whatever, like it would have fallen apart. He played 38 minutes. If you play 38 minutes of a 48-minute game and you are part of this team that had that great defensive effort, you are a big part of it. But simply by default, even if he didn't have a great standout individual game, he was part of a great team game. And so I do want to make sure that we note that. Like he had 10 defensive rebounds. We always talk about if you're not scoring, if you're not doing this,
you didn't have to
go get the ball.
You didn't have to because I said that
something.
already. You didn't have to because I said it already. You could have just went right to what you need to say about it because we said it. If you win with 79 points, everyone had a hand and did something. Tobias Harris with his 10 rebounds on the night, his 11 points, you needed those two. Now you can go to the other side.
So I want to make sure that I said that. Now that being said, you want to talk about headless chickens and aimless offense and what the hell are you doing head scratcher type moments. Tobias Harris was by far the leader on the team in those. I'm not going to kill him for 5 for 14 because the entire team shot like complete garbage, but his decision making was just atrocious. Like, even plays that he had 3 turnovers, including some ghastly ones late in that game that we were sitting there watching Devon, and I was like, he's lucky that the Knicks are just pissing these away and having an equally poor performance on the other end, because a halfway decent team turns him into public enemy number 1 in Philadelphia after that game. So he was fortunate to a certain degree there. He also, for whatever reason, got to shoot a technical free throw, despite the fact that Lowry was on the floor and is a better free throw shooter historically by quite a bit. He's cold, had not made a 3 all night, was not making jump shots. Like, everything suggested don't put that guy on the line, so he misses that. And then there were plays where he didn't end up actually making a turnover or that bad of a play, but he had moments where it's like, okay, you got the mismatch, you're on the block, you got to where you wanted, you got the ball, and then he just stood there. And it was like, dude, these are supposed to be, this is your wheelhouse. These are your shots. These are your looks. These are the guys you want to attack. And when he gets the ball, he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's part of why you score 79 points in a game. Like that, it was avoidable to some extent. I'm certainly not holding him accountable for a team-wide offensive disaster, right? But when heavy is the head that wears the crown, like, you're the $40 million guy. You're the top guy, or at least you should be, when Maxey and Joel Embiid are out. And instead, once again, he's just another one of the guys. Like, no matter how many times this happens, I'm still going to get frustrated, because we do see what it looks like when Tobias is in a flow, in rhythm, and he hits a few early shots, and he keeps attacking, and he plays within the confines of the offense and does the things that made him an attractive player in the first place and suckered the front office into giving him $180 million. Like, there is a talent base there, and he just doesn't use it, and I don't understand why that is. So that part's infuriating, but really the thing that drove me the craziest was the turnovers at the end of the game. Like, you're jumping at half court with time to get the ball across the halfway line.
He's on the sideline
to get the ball out of your hands when you were just the technical free throw shooter. Were you scared to go to the free throw line? Like, just keep dribbling the clock out. I don't know, man. Just bizarre.
To that play where he leaves his feet, throws the ball across half court, and it goes right into a Knicks defender's hand. And that was because, yes, the double team was coming. But if you remember just a few plays earlier where they were trying to beat the press, Kyle Lowry, who is a point guard, but both have left hands enough where you're in the league where you're not Jaylen Brown and you can't push the ball along the sideline to get over the half-court line with your left hand. He leaves his feet to throw the pass across half court to make sure he doesn't, number one, turn the ball over right there, but also get a 8-second violation for not passing half court at that time. So that was very infuriating because, as you said, even with, and I'm screaming at Kyle, not screaming, but I'm like, yo, why is he on the line taking this tech? Kyle Lowry should be taking this tech. And I say that because there's a pattern of what Tobias Harris does that I've noticed over the 5 years that he's been here. Sitting there watching, and you can kind of tell. I mean, my odds are really good against me, so it's not always right, but my odds are good. You can tell when he's going to split free throws or in the guts of a game when things get a little tight where he short arms free throws. And he did that at the free throw line. He just didn't. He didn't shoot it. He split a pair a little bit later where I said he's going to split these. He made the second, missed the first. First when he alligator armed it, short armed it, and it didn't go. And he made the second because he actually shot the free throw. That was actually the last one that they made, 79-73. But with that, you know, you're looking at it and you're saying this guy is supposed to be, we say it every time, he's supposed to be the best player when the other two are out. And that is just not coming to fruition. And we've seen that time and time again at various points of the season when Embiid and Maxey are out. And so it was that play, it was the free throw, it was the fact that, Kyle was laying out how he had these matchups. The ball swung to him one time, didn't get the ball to him directly on the inbounds when he had Miles McBride on the left side of the paint. Finally, the ball came back to Nick Batum, who we know is well aware of what the matchup is. He's going right to him, and he does. But what he did, and while there were moments when he absolutely swung the ball and got it out of his hands to allow the ball to swing around the perimeter or maybe even for a better shot, the issue was he was taking his time once the ball came to him when he had a one-on-one matchup to size up the defender who was always already sized up because you have 6 inches over this defender. Go and do your work immediately. It's the same thing from Brett Brown to Doc Rivers to even now, even though we haven't heard Nick Nurse say it, catch and go, quick decisions with Tobias Harris. He and Kelly Oubre probably on the floor, or Buddy Hield, maybe not all three at the same time, but on the floor, the defense is saying, that's the best player. I'm going to throw an extra body at him to get the ball out of his hands. So when he's facing up and trying to size up the defense, he's allowing that defense to now run at him, and he still doesn't get rid of the ball quickly while the player is running to make sure the ball is faster to swing around and find the open man. He's doing that, and that's a disadvantage for him and the Sixers and an advantage for the Knicks in that case. Probably should have had about 20 points tonight for those reasons, for attacking quickly, swinging the ball, and the ball might find him again.
I feel like that almost every night.
And it's the same time.
It's crazy.
Same thing every time.
And I would say, there's some pushback in the chat when I brought up that he's making $40 million. And look, I get it.
I saw Steve was saying that.
A few, and Al just says he's tired of even thinking about it. And I completely get it. It is pertinent to why he's on the floor. Set aside the money has impacted their team building, that they can't do this because he's making this much. He's not tradable for a long portion of that contract, whatever. If Tobias Harris was not making this much money, there would be far more games when he just would sit on the fucking bench because he's not playing well enough. That's what, and I'm not trying to do a you don't know anything as fans type of deal. But one thing that you come to understand when you're covering NBA teams and you talk to people in other front offices, coaching staffs, whatever, the politics of contracts and contract years, and this guy makes this amount of money, those are real. It is a lot harder to effectively discipline, bench, and get through to the guys that are making that kind of money, because they've already been rewarded. They were told, okay, you play a certain way. You've been given a ton of money. What is the incentive for that player to change what they're doing? Now, you can say, well, they should bench them anyway, and they should be treated like every other guy. And in some cases, I would agree. And in Tobias's case, especially now, when they're at full strength and they have depth and they have an MVP level player, they have a Tyrese Maxey. Yes, there have been instances where they should sit him down.
Washington, as an example, when Ricky was playing well.
They more than likely will not do that,
Correct.
And the money is part of it. I'm not saying it's the whole thing. It is a big part of it.
Yes, in professional sports, there's a justification of something that you did as a move. Let's go back to Jalen Reagor with the Eagles, where, of course, they take him with a high pick and in the 20s. Justin Jefferson is doing what he's doing now in Minnesota. They're both rookies or second-year players, and Justin Jefferson establishes himself as one of the better wide receivers at that time, and now maybe even the best in the league. You're still justifying that by making sure you play your first-round pick.
Yeah.
You have to play your first-round pick, because I have to see not only can this guy play, but I simply took this dude at 20. The other guy's balling out in Minnesota. We got to play this guy. And when you do that with Tobias Harris here, $40 million, it means something, even though I've always said remove the money from his jersey now because it's what it is. That's why he's on the floor, because he got paid $40 million, because he was one of the better players on your roster. And that remains the same here 5 years later when you have no Maxey, no Embiid, Melton, Covington on the floor. He has to be one of your best, if not the best, because of those guys are out. And when he got that money, it was because he was almost close to a 20-point-per-game scorer.
And another
that
way to
seems to still be in there.
Another way to make the point would be, do you think Buddy Hield has played worse than Tobias Harris over this stretch?
The stretch?
Or do you think it's comparable?
I think it's comparable.
Okay. Like, we could argue, like, maybe Tobias is better for these reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Buddy is better for different reasons. They're at least comparable. Nick Nurse is not benching Tobias Harris. He moved Buddy Hield to the bench.
Yes.
Some of that is because of money.
Tobias Harris is not going to come off the bench.
That's all I'm getting at here.
No.
We can leave that topic in that segment. I want to tell you guys about a great friend of ours, great partner of ours you've heard about many times, the good people at Bagels and Co, who offers huge Brooklyn-style bagels. Those guys are going to need some in that locker room.
Yes.
Get some carbs, get some energy after that game. But they make those huge bagels right here in Philadelphia. I eat them several days a week, and Bagels & Co. offers an average of around 15 to 20 types of bagels that rotate seasonally, all kinds of themes. We got St. Patrick's Day, Easter, other holidays coming up. I'm sure in the summertime we'll get maybe some 4th of July, some freedom, red, white, and blue bagels. I don't know. We'll see. I'm making stuff up.
Or the cream cheese.
Maybe the cream cheese too. And I already know they have some red, white, and blue cream cheese because they offer 30 different flavors of cream cheese. Those rotate all throughout the year. And they do themed cream cheeses for all the local sports teams like the Sixers, Eagles, Flyers, Phillies, perhaps even the Union. And just as important as all that variety you get is the affordability at Bagels & Co. They've kept their prices down as inflation keeps going up and hitting us all over the place because they want you to be an everyday customer, not just someone who comes in because you're feeling like a fancy lad on the weekend. You want to splurge a little bit. They offer premium coffee on top of those bagels, and it's at a superior price to most national brands and chains, so it's a one-stop shop. Get the coffee, get your breakfast, get on out of there. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to www.thebagelsandco.com/store-locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you.
And I have to let you know about, as you enjoy those bagels, you sit back and you kind of wonder, what can I do on this particular evening, which is a February 23rd. When we talk about certain things that we have done.
Going into the past, Devon?
To
February
let people
23rd?
know what we did. And what we did was February 23rd, we went and made sure we took over the arena against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they won. And you also have one coming up here where the 14th, where you also look at what the Flyers guys and all that, where they have takeover.
They're going to have a different coach that night, I think. The head coach just got suspended over the weekend.
Is he going to be out for that one?
Maybe if you go as part of the takeover with the PHLY Flyers crew, you can get down there on the bench and start coaching the team.
Call some plays there for the Flyers. Well, if you were there for us on the 23rd, again, February 23rd, you can now go and hang out with the gang from the PHLY crew. Join Charlie Bill and other PHLY hockey diehards at the Center on March 14th as the Flyers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Eastern Conference showdown presented by the great folks from Olipop. So with that, you get takeover ticket includes pregame meetup with the PHLY crew and a game ticket in the assembly room. Very, very cool area. Go enjoy the game with the other diehards. Check out all of our upcoming events at allphly.com under the events calendar. Follow our PHLY Phillies team for details on opening day. I think we have one coming up as well later in the week. We'll tell you about that as we go along. But you get, as a diehard, podcasts and live shows on every team every day. You know that. We get that. Post-game shows. Now, 79-73 victory on the road. Ugly, but you still get the post-game show. Premium written content for members from this guy, allphly.com. He's an award winner. You want to read his stuff. 20% off events. Dope merch for all teams.
I knew I was going to hear it at least
Free
once today.
shirt when you become a member, and members-only Discord in the PHLY Lounge. Look at those T-shirts. Love the red PHLY with the combining of all the logos from all four professional teams there. And the PHLY as the powder blue with baseball getting ready to get started. You might want to jump in there on that one. The black, all black with our logo and the PHLY Eagles. The PHLY Birds show with Bo and Zach. That one's available. So you get all of that stuff. It's all great. Make sure you head over to allphly.com now and join the best sports fans in the city.
So before we get to all our super
we got a
chats
bunch
to
of super
wrap
chats.
it up,
Bunch of super chats.
Little quick tease for, I guess, Tuesday when they play the Knicks again. I'd say I'd lean toward Tyrese Maxey playing in that one. I do think they're going to need it. I don't know what the stats are precisely, but generally these mini series are extremely difficult to win both. And when you consider the way this game played out, how pissed off the Knicks probably are to have scored 73 points in a game on their home floor, lose to a team that, frankly, they probably shouldn't have lost to, having Brunson, who's the best player on either team, in that game tonight. I think it'll be a tough one to win, but if you can get that Tyrese Maxey-sized shot in the arm for Tuesday, obviously increases your chances to get it. So I guess fingers crossed that he'll be able to come back, and we'll see what they got on Tuesday.
And even if it's not a 30, 40, or 50-point night from Maxey, just to have his presence out there, the attention that he's going to draw from that New York Knicks defense, that should be able to help out others like Oubre, Harris, et cetera, while they're out there on the floor. That's a good thing, man. Hopefully that happens. By the way, before we get to our super chats, we want everybody to know our schedule. We are off on Monday. We're not going anywhere right now. We still have plenty to get to tonight. Just wanted to make sure before any people disappeared in there, we're off on Monday. We're back Tuesday for the postgame again against the New York Knicks, and then we'll run all the way through Saturday. So Tuesday through Saturday, you, us, Brianna, Bree is here.
I got to talk to somebody, man. I can't believe we didn't get Friday off instead of Monday.
Instead of Monday, Friday would have been better.
Yeah, give somebody a piece of my mind.
Maybe we'll jump and let them know before next week's schedule. Give them a heads up. All right, let's get to some super chats. We'll throw in some other chats maybe if we have some time in there. Hey, Winona, I saw you. Just wanted to say hello. Thanks for checking in. As always, we start off with Jay of the Jungle. I mentioned the 6-game streak earlier. If Maxey didn't play in that Dallas game, well, Jay was the one who referenced that in the super chat. 6-game streak if Maxey didn't get hurt. Just saying. All right, you said it, but he played. They won, and now we're here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's. I think it's fair to assume they at least would beat the Grizzlies and the Nets with Maxey. Like I think on balance, I would have expected them to win those games. The Pelicans maybe less so. Like I know they took their foot off the gas and got close in the end. That's a team that's talented. That's a solid playoff team. So I'm not putting the Pelicans in the that's a guaranteed win with Tyrese in. I would say that.
Maybe they would have won 2 of the 4 games that he's missed.
Yeah.
2 and 2. And we're looking at potentially at this stage, they're 36 or maybe 38 games they would have right now in the win column so far.
Oppenheimer best picture, by the way. So
sweeping, man. Can the Sixers sweep this series on Tuesday?
Big night for the nuclear bomb, I guess. I don't.
I guess.
And Christopher Nolan. Shout out Christopher Nolan. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, absolutely. All right, next one we have is from our friend Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. I'm in 2004 all over again, but I'll take it. #Go76.
I assume he's referring to the 79-73 score.
Yes.
Who was it? I think, it was Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich was here. This was before the Joel 70-point game. I don't remember how it came up, but he referred to the Spurs Pistons series or NBA Finals that went 7 games, and he was like, "Yeah, I thought the league was going to end after that series. Nobody was happy about it, including the league, including the fans, maybe even including people in our organizations. Those were real rough times for offense in the NBA. So I would like a balance between where we're at now with scoring and where things were at that point. I don't know how they find that balance or strike that balance, but would definitely like to see it somewhere in the middle.
How about back-to-back?
The Goldilocks.
How about back-to-back finals for the Knicks? Their game on Friday that they beat the Orlando Magic, they only scored 74 points the Orlando Magic did, and at that point, that was the lowest. The Knicks only
scored 90-something, right?
98 to 73.
Yeah.
And that was the lowest, I think they were saying. I don't know if it was the lowest of the season or the lowest for, again, that was one of the lowest. Knicks scored 73 tonight. So there's that. Greg Popovich, look at that.
Defense is coming
points.
back, baby.
That's right, man. That's right. All right, Val host, we mentioned you a little bit earlier. Playing the song.
Also says, cross your fingers. I'll be praying. I think it might be referring to Tuesday.
Yes.
I'm not much of a prayer, my guy, but for you,
right
maybe
ahead.
I'll do one along with you.
All right, Devon again, Agent 0012, trying to sabotage from the inside with the laughing emoji.
So that's where I would say it's gone a little too far, right?
Well, we did have sabotage after the Celtics
yes,
game.
there have been some genuine sabotage games. I don't think this was one of them just because of the defense and rebounding stuff we talked about earlier.
Barb in the chat, though, says, Devon, the New York people are swearing that Brunson threw the game, LOL. There's no way he threw that game. The guy's battling back from knee scare. Would you rather him not play? Right?
For what reason would Brunson throw the game? What would his justification be? Is he getting in on the Temple alleged point shaving scandal? And I'm saying alleged because I don't listen. I don't know. There's just there's some fishy stuff going on at Temple basketball games allegedly, but we'll have to wait until some more information is uncovered.
Absolutely. Philly Vlogs checks in on the super chat and says, Toby is ungood.
That is definitely one way of putting it, Philly Vlogs.
Ungood.
We appreciate you checking in, stopping by, obviously. We've got Devon going crazy.
Another one? Go for it.
With the super chats tonight. He says, Tobias Harris belongs on the Lincoln Rail Splitters.
Jeez.
What do you think about that?
Do
Do you think Tobias would be the most important player on the Lincoln Rail Splitters, or do you think he'd find a way to be the third guy no matter who else was on the team with him?
He'll say, clear out, give me the rock. Clear out, give me the rock, and tell everybody I'm a sharpshooter or I'm a sniper. What did he say?
Tell a friend to tell a friend I'm a sharpshooter. I don't know. He also called himself an assassin scorer.
That's what it was, the assassin scorer. So I would think if he's a part of the rail splitters, he would think that he's an assassin scorer in that league for sure. All right, next one, 2-minute warning. What up, Al? So you're saying if Harris, this was during our Harris discussion last segment, is a $20 million this season scorer, he would play less? I say no. He's still better than what you have.
I can't tell you one way or another. It's a complete hypothetical. All I am saying to you is that it is more likely for guys making less money to be moved around. Like, for example,
Duncan Robinson last season.
There's a reason that it was a huge story for many reasons, but also for financial reasons, that Klay Thompson was moved to the bench in Golden State. Some of that is he's got a legacy there. He's
Hall of Famer,
all that.
all that stuff.
That stuff I get. But there's also just that he's in a contract year making a lot of money. And when you move a guy to the bench, that is something when he gets to negotiations, whether it's with Golden State, whether it's with another team, they're going to point out, like, hey, you weren't playing well enough to be a starter. Klay Thompson wants starter money. So, like, these things all factor into it's all just a big web touching all kinds of things.
Everywhere in professional sports. Everywhere. Whoa, Sequoia Official, first super chat. Welcome. Thank you. This season has been disinteresting to say the least, but this is going to be a very exciting and unpredictable April-May.
So I would push back only to say
I agree.
It hasn't been disinteresting. That's not even a word. Hasn't been uninteresting.
It was a word
rephrase.
that they
yes, this is who our Low
it.
Sequoia official used that phrase. It hasn't been uninteresting for the season. I think it's been uninteresting since Joel went down, right? Like, once you lose the guy who gives you that feel of, okay, they can touch contention. They're relevant. When you lose that connection to relevance, that's when I think it gets into, okay, we're just kind of spinning the wheels here. And the blessing of last season, frankly, was that they had Harden, and Harden was a guy who could hold down the fort when Joel was down. And so there was never that period of like, oh God, they're 6-11 in their last 17 without
with
Joel.
With the excitement of Maxey with Harden.
Yes.
Yes.
And they could put those kind of pairings together. But I do agree with him or her. You can probably see on your screen over there. I do agree with our friend Wo Sequoia.
We don't know.
In that April and potentially May are super fascinating for this team, right? Like no team will go into the playoffs with more volatility than the Sixers. Now that obviously assumes they make the playoffs, which is not a guarantee where we sit. I'd still say I'd place a decent amount of money that they will, but they're going to get there. And this team, this version of the team with Buddy, with Lowry, with Joel, with Maxey, with most of the roster healthy, is probably going to max out at like 8 games, 10 games played together, which is a crazy thought. And they were a great contending level team before the trade deadline. What are they now? What does Buddy bring? What does Kyle bring as a backup guard? So we're going to find out. It's pretty interesting.
All right. Our last super chat here. How do you pronounce the first name? You mentioned it earlier.
João
Pedro Rodriguez.
You can correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation.
I'll take it. Nice to see them playing with such effort. This game wasn't ugly. Last game was ugly. Let's get a double with Tyrese on Tuesday. We appreciate the super chat, but now I'm pushing back. This game was ugly in all caps.
Good ugly
because they won, but it was ugly in all caps for me. That was a college basketball final score as we get to the conference tournaments that we starting to see, or just tournament play in college basketball. That was ugly. To score that type of number, that was really, really ugly. We thank everybody for all the super chats. Hubie Brown, one of our favorites when it comes to television. We're watching the game. Hubie is, look, the guy is 90 years old, just out there still kicking it, and you know what he lives to do. So this guy is just calling games and still sees the game very well, calls the game very well, still a very good listen. He loves Paul Reed.
I wrote down the exact line. So Paul Reed hit, and it was after a shot clock violation. He got fed a hot potato. And by the way, I feel like we glanced over Paul.
Are you talking about that three-pointer?
No, the runner.
Oh, the runner.
This is late in the third quarter. He takes a floater, taps at the buzzer, and Hubie Brown just goes, "I'm sorry. I just like this guy." And Devon and I are sitting there like, you don't have to apologize, Hubie. Like, to your point, he loves basketball.
That's your guy.
And I love that he has been through the entirety of NBA history. And he clearly pushes back sometimes like, oh, I don't like that shot. But it never comes from a place of like, oh, man, get off my lawn. Like, oh, back in Wilt's era or any of that. Like, he still genuinely loves the game. He loves guys who play hard, who do the little things. Someone like Joel that has changed what a big man looks like. Like, I love Hubie Brown. I also just want to quick shout out to Paul Reed.
No question.
Who, again, coming off the bench, could hang his head and say, Mo Bamba stinks and shouldn't play over me. Instead, he plays inspired basketball off of the bench. 5 for 8, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 blocks. That's the big one. Great rim defense for basically the entire night. Ends up playing more minutes than Bamba, as he should. So
by a mile.
Shout out to Paul, and shout out to Hubie Brown as
Paul
well.
Reed hit a big 3 from the corner with the shot clock winding down to make it 73-63. Confidently, they left him open, as they should, but he confidently rose up. And I have to think that to make that shot, which was a big shot, again, after that, when Brunson had an and one on the other end to cut the deficit to 7, but that was a big 3 right there. But I have to think that the amount of shots that he's taken from the perimeter over the last few weeks, the coaching staff giving him the green light to do so as long as he doesn't get too carried away.
He's found a good balance. It hasn't been like reckless. It was for a little bit when we talked on the show about it, that it was reckless gunning to a certain degree. And now I think you can see the wheels turning in his head like,
not this one.
Nah, not this one. So good on him. He's found the sweet spot, and he's knocking some shots down.
And so for that was a big spot right there where they needed that 3 points from Paul Reed with the shot clock winding down. And to your point of the Hubie Brown saying, I just like that guy. On that runner, Campaign shouldn't have swung the ball to
that wasn't
him
his fault.
to put him in that spot. It just so happened that even when he split it, he was still defended when he hit that runner. He just missed it by a few tenths of a second. He made it, by the way, to bank it off the glass and have that one go in. But really good game from him once again. We'll see if he gets the nod for the start. If not, maybe he and Buddy Hield will come off the bench again on Tuesday night. And if Tyrese Maxey is, in fact, starting, you would have to imagine, or coming back, that Maxey would start with Lowry, and that means Payne, maybe even with Hield, and Paul Reed will be the guys coming off the bench for you in that particular one. So kind of helps things out where, again, you're not playing at another level. You kind of go back down to your level when you get guys back, and specifically your best player when it comes to Maxey. And hopefully that also helps out Tobias Harris in that one as well.
All right, you want to get up on out of here?
Let's get ready to wrap this thing up.
Get some rest and enjoy our day off on Monday.
Off on Monday, folks.
All right, I want to shout out not each and every one of you, because there are a lot of people firing away in the chat, but
we shout out all of you.
I want to thank a lot of you. I want to thank many of you for your contributions to today's show and for being here with us. We got Rick Morse. We got the chat's #1 target, Money Mar.
Money Mar, what up?
Money Mar just taking hits from
RJ left him hanging
tonight.
out there by himself, and he's standing up strong with the guard up, just blocking everything.
We got Coach Lowell Ricketts. We got Jay of the Jungle, second round exit fan, Martian Lynch.
What up, Martian?
Eugene G. Ross, my guy. Spirit 42. Our guy Al, the 2-minute warning. Hold on, this is a specific one. We got Winona. Winona, I found out recently when Devon replied to you, you must have complimented him or the show, that you blocked me on Twitter at some point, and I didn't know why. I couldn't find any tweets I'd ever sent to you. Winona, I don't know what I did to you in a past life or what I did to anger you, but I hope we're on good terms now.
Hey,
That's
Winona,
all I'll say.
You know I love you. Unblock Kyle.
I'm not even you don't even have to do that. I just want to make sure.
You're part of the family, as you know.
Let's let bygones be bygones. Whatever it
was.
Fresh
start. Fresh start.
Whatever it was that made it happen.
What up, Winona?
What up, Winona? And thank you for being here on a Sunday evening at 10:30. Love you for that. We got Cannoli. We got Aaron. G Bravo. We got Trons. Remo.
What up, Reem?
Chris B. Who else we got here? People are just coming at me
Money
fast
Mark
and
back
furious.
in saying I'm Teflon Devon with a laughing emoji. He taking on all those swings, just blocking them.
We got Axe Monkey. That's a new one. I don't think I've seen that one before.
Don't know that one.
We got Steven. Who are our super chatters today, Bree? If you want to pull those. We got Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. Whoa, Sequoia, official.
Welcome.
Wow, Pedro, who, as we've learned earlier, checking in from Brazil. Valos.
You got to invite us over there.
Philly Vlogs, who came in saying Toby is ungood. It might be I don't know if that's a future T-shirt or what.
That's a good one. Ungood.
Anyway, thank you, everybody, for coming through here. We got Grass, who wanted to be shouted out. I see you.
Winona says she's sorry and she's going to fix it. Thank you, Winona.
Winona, it's
Much
not
love.
fixing anything. I just laughed because I went to see and I was like.
Austin Krell said that's a good life decision, though.
Austin Krell doesn't know about good life decisions. But anyway, if you could hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And if you hit the thumbs up button, maybe the Sixers will continue to play defense. What a world we would live in, as Devon told you earlier.
Tell a friend.
We're off on Monday. We'll be back after Sixers Knicks on Tuesday. Presumably, we will have the third member of our crew, but
we were going to bring our other third member, but I forgot to bring it in here. That's my fault. I always forget to bring stuff in the studio. That said, Monday off, back on Tuesday. We run through Saturday. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your Monday. We'll be paying attention to the NFL free agent period, so make sure you check out our team at PHLY Eagles with Bo and Zach. You never know. You might get a surprise with a bunch of people on there as they get ready for this extra. I think they said they might go a couple of hours, man. Kind of like our thing with the deadline and the Flyers with the deadline on Tuesday. Everybody have a great one for Kyle, for Brianna, for all of us here. Have a great night. Great Sixers win. They needed that one. Ugly, but they got it done. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.